Welcome, everybody, to the Village of North Hudson Plan Commission meeting, September 15th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Member Anderson?
Present.
Bachman? Absent. Howard? Absent. Chair Miser?
Here.
Member Mitchell? Absent. Member Schneider? Here. Wecken?
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. First item after that, approval of the minutes of July 21st. Any comments? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Is there a second?
I'll approve. Oh, no, she wasn't here. I'll approve the minutes.
I can't do it. I wasn't here.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, approval of the meeting minutes of July 21st, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, next thing is a conditional use permit of Larry Larson representing the Homeowners Association, St. Croix Station, to construct a commercial lift down to the river located at 228 Station Circle North. We will have a public hearing, but first we'll just have Larry go up to the microphone and just briefly say what you're doing, requesting.
Hi, I'm Larry Larson, representing the homeowners of St. Croix Station. We started this project with thinking it was going to be rather straightforward and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Our intent was simply to take out the old lift and put in a new one. And then we started trying to figure out the various codes that apply to this, DNR, county, state, village. Excuse me. Probably the biggest surprise to all of us was the fact that we couldn't just replace the current lift with what's called a residential, which is what we have today, which was legal at the time. But because the lift services more than one family unit, you have to install a commercial lift. And a commercial lift also requires that you put a fence around the whole operation. And the fence has to be no more than a 2-inch opening, which is a standard chain link, until you get up around, say, the motors and the rotating parts at the bottom. There, the gap can only be a 1/2 inch. So we tried to find out if we could get a bid on that, and the installer said, "You can't buy 1/2 inch chain link fence. It is theoretically made." He said, it's not available. And he said, I did check with our suppliers, and they said they might consider going into production on that sometime between now and the end of the year. And but he said there's no promise on that at all. But he said for those kind of situations, we can just use wood. And he said when they put in the posts, he said we have special connections that we use when people want to use wood instead of chain link. So it's been an interesting and insightful exercise, to say the least, primarily because we got off on the wrong foot with what we thought was going to be the only installer. Because in order to install a lift, you have to be licensed in the state of Wisconsin as an elevator installer and inspector. And so the first guy that we talked to said that as far as he knew, he was the only one who was licensed in the state of Wisconsin. And he also is not what's called a turnkey approach to doing an installation like this. So we'd have to remove the lift. We'd have to put in the foundation that the lift would sit on. We'd have to build a building, about a 10 by 10 building, to house the motor. And of course, we'd have to bring in a larger power supply because it's a larger motor in a commercial lift. And any number of other items. And so we started trying to find, he said, then you also have to do a geological study on the hill itself. So we ended up at least finding 6 separate subcontractors that would be involved. And then just by sheer luck, I was running into one of my neighbors up at the lake, and he said that Shane Hafes over at Hillside Lifts, he said, he does that kind of stuff. And I said, I know Shane. I've talked to him several times, but he's not licensed in Wisconsin. He said, yes, he is. I said, no, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. So as soon as I got back home, called Shane. He said, "Are you licensed in Wisconsin?" He said, "Yes, I am." In fact, he said, "I have a master's electrician's license, and I also have a elevator license, elevator installation license." And the other person that I've been dealing with a lot is a guy by the name of Ed Sabo, who works with the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Public Safety and Professional Services, and his area is elevators. And I've probably talked to Ed 50 times during this process and all the questions. Some of them code related, some of them practical. For example, the fence per the code only has to be 18 inches away from the carriage. And Ed said something one day that I thought was extremely funny but insightful about himself. He said, "For God's sakes, don't put the fence 18 inches away from the carriage." Mm-hmm. He said, "There will come a time when some little short fat guy," and he was talking about himself, "is going to have to inspect this, because you have to inspect it every year." And he said, "That really gets to be a pain." And he said, "Plus, you get practical matter. You might have a storm or something that bends the tracks, or you got to replace the tracks." And he said, "The guys are going to be working in there. If they've literally got 5 feet to work with, it's going to be a real nightmare for them." So he said, "I'd recommend going at least 3 to 5 feet, beyond 5 feet beyond the tracks, or 3 feet beyond the carriage as it goes up and down." Which I thought, okay, fine, we'll make it 5 feet. Then we're going to have to clear a fairly large number of trees and a lot of brush to be able to put that fence in. And so the last time I had the fence installer here, I mentioned that we were really having, I said, this fence has just been giving me a nightmare ever since we found out about it. And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because if we start taking out trees, I got to replace every one I take out. I got to replace with 2, and they have to be 2 inches in diameter at chest high level according to the DNR codes." And he said, "Well, no, you don't have to do that for us." He said, "We frequently," he said, "because we do these all the time. That's why," he said, "I was able to give you a bid by just looking at the site once and, yep, I know what I have to do." And he gave me a bid in 24 hours. He said, we just weave the fence down around the trees. And I said, "What are you going to do?" Because we have erosion control walls all the way up and down the slope, every 10 feet. And they've been there and doing their job for 40 years, and they'll do it for another 40. So I said, "What do you do when you get to them?" He said, "We just jump over them." He said, "That's not a problem for us at all." He said, "This is not for us a hard job." I said, "Really?" I said, "The last job we did down by Red Wing, the hill was almost straight down, and it was solid rock all the way down." And he said, "We had to put a 10-foot fence on that one." So it's been an interesting learning process, at least for myself anyway. It is something that the association itself really wants to get done. I mean, our lift is 40 years old. It breaks down. It's extremely difficult to find someone who's licensed to work on it. So that problem goes away when we use hillside lifts, because they are licensed. Their crew is licensed to do that kind of work. So now there's no longer a question of who do we call. So we're going to have a much stronger and a much safer lift. And I believe the plan we've laid out meets all the requirements for the DNR as far as if we take out a tree, we're going to replace it. In fact, we're going to add some trees to fill in some. If you were to take a look at the aerial views, there's just a couple of spots where there was like a hole in the canopy. Now, they'll be outside of we won't be taking out trees, but we'll be planting some additional deciduous trees there. And we want to use deciduous trees, not pine trees, simply because they create the canopy. It's that simple. And they last longer. So,
They're less messy.
what's that?
Less messy. Pine
Oh,
trees
yeah.
can get in everything.
Yeah. And Ed Sabo, the guy that I mentioned before, he's been working with us. He's been working with Shane Hafes, the owner of Hillside Lifts, And he'll be overseeing the installation as well as the inspection. And then once the inspection is done, it looks like it's okay, then they do what's called a weight test. And I believe this one has a, I think it's about a 1,400-pound capacity carriage. The carriage would be the same size as the current one. We have no need to make it bigger, same way with the landings. And Ed will actually be doing that as well. So he's seen the prints and he's fully aware of what we're doing. And as I said, he's been just incredibly helpful, and he really knows his stuff. So what you see as far as what we're going to be doing is largely due to Ed's input on that in many, many areas. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy.
Before we do that, this is a public hearing. I would right now entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Move we go into a public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of public hearing, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are in public hearing at 13 after. Just for the folks at home, there's nobody here from the public, but we will wait a minute to give people, latecomers, a chance.
There's a lot of traffic out there, you know.
The traffic is pretty bad in front of this place here. I do not see anyone from the public. I guess I would entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are out of public hearing at 7:14. Thank you. Members of the Plan Commission, does anyone have any specific questions? We got a very thorough pack of information. Kevin, would you have anything to say, just to kind of?
Can I just make a quick note, just to update you, the Board of Zoning Appeals met last night and did approve the variance.
They did approve the variance?
Just so you know
Okay,
that.
that was, you could mention that they needed a variance and then it
Yeah.
was approved. And what was the variance for?
So the way the code reads now, it's a maximum of 6 feet and in a residential district and.
Oh, the
what's-
fence height.
Yeah, the fence height.
Okay.
So what's being proposed is 7 feet and
Okay.
the Board of Adjustments.
7 foot is the
Commercial requirements?
commercial elevator code requirement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from an engineering standpoint,
Yeah, there was 8 different items that was provided. A lot of these are the same things that the DNR came up with. Larry is, in the packet, responded to all of these and addressed every one of them. The only number H is, just a registered professional engineer, architect to sign off that it's securely anchored. Sounds like that's going to be forthcoming. So with that, I think everything is, at my end, has been addressed, and I'm recommending
Okay.
approval.
thank you. And just a comment,
Just with respect to the engineering issue, the gentleman who prepared the drawings works for Shane Hayes. He is a structural engineer, but he's not a certified, registered structural engineer. They outsource that. and
Larry,
He has all of the
Larry,
prints.
can you go up to the microphone for Cable? Sorry, he's having trouble hearing you.
Hillside Lifts outsources their registered professional engineering for all of their drawings. And when I called Hillside to say, do you have any idea where he's at? Because I'd like to have his certification by this Tuesday or Wednesday. He said, I don't know. He said, he gave me 3 sets that he's approved. But I said that we have no issues or concerns because we work with him all the time. He knows what we do and how we do it. So you will definitely be getting the certified registered engineer drawings within a couple of days.
you can stay up there then.
Sure.
So if any of the members have any questions for you? Just a comment that Brian Wirt, the building inspector, also recommended approval of the conditional use permit for this. Anyone? Nothing?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the Plan Commission? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion And if no one has one, I will read it myself. I usually don't do that, but
I could find
I was
it,
gonna
I'd
read a modified one.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna read a modified one.
Yes,
since
go ahead,
Most
please.
of that is,
We're at that stage,
yeah.
since no one
Okay.
has any other comments.
All right, I'll move to approve the conditional use permit for the Homeowners Association St. Croix Station to replace an existing lift with the following conditions. One, comply with all Village, Wisconsin DNR, and Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services requirements, except where variances have been approved. Follow all the plans and procedures as submitted in the application dated July 30, 2021, and addendum to application dated September 9, 2021. Submit a certification by professional engineer and architect on the stairway and lift. I think that's all that needs to be done.
I'll second.
Okay. I just have a question, Mary, on Melissa's number 9 with the DNR, says canopies and roofs are not allowed, but the elevator code requires it. Maybe you have a comment on that?
Well, in the DNR, the variance,
Okay.
they granted a variance
Oh, that's right.
due to the requirement from the state elevator code.
Okay.
So that's included in the,
It was in there.
That was the one sentence you were talking about. Okay. Wonderful. Is there a second on that motion? There is a second by Gene. Any other comments? Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the conditional use permit application for the St. Croix Station lift replacement, signify by saying aye. Aye.
aye.
All opposed? That is passed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item of business is called routine. Does anyone have anything?
No.
Hearing none. Gene, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 7:20. Thank you all.